far. It's a pleasure to have you on this call, and it's a pleasure to have you participating in this summer school program. So when I got the topic for today's class, AI and decision making, I was very excited because it's something that we all as humans cannot run away from, because as far as I know, two things would forever remain true. They would always remain true no matter what. And the first is that artificial intelligence is a game changer. And okay, sorry for the interruption. I had some service issues. So back to where I left off. If you're just joining us, welcome. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes. So as I was saying earlier, I was very excited when I got the topic for today's session. That's AI and decision making, because it's two fundamental aspects of our human existence as it is now. Because AI is a game changer and will be implemented across all boards, across all walks of life. And as rational beings that we are as humans, we would always make decisions. And according to statistics, I came across this while I was making research for today's program. It's estimated that human beings make about 35,000 decisions per day. We all as humans make about 35,000 decisions per day, from little things like selecting what food to eat, picking out your outfit for work, or selecting what route to take to work and things like that. We all make decisions, and it's approximated to be about 35,000 of them every day. So the impact of artificial intelligence in decision making, in our decision making as humans, as members of the global workforce, cannot be overstated because it's an ever-evolving field that shapes the way we choose, from everyday decisions to significant life choices. So today's session promises to be packed with information, packed with value, and there will be a lot of learning, relearning, and unlearning. So welcome everybody. We'll be getting started very, very shortly. If you're just joining, you're welcome. You're welcome. So many of us may be wondering what we'll be expecting from today's session. So basically, today's session will be diving into the crazy world of artificial intelligence, having a holistic view and understanding of what it is, and we'll understand how this technology, AI, artificial intelligence, would alter our own decision-making process for the better, because that's the essence of every technological innovation, to make human lives better. So we have to understand artificial intelligence's role in human decision making. We would also have to understand, or will come to understand, how AI is transforming our everyday choices. Then, as is the theme for this whole summer school, we'll understand or come to realize the ethical considerations of AI in decision making. And we'll also understand the impact of AI in decision making. So the questions you may have in your heart, questions like, are there limitations to AI in decision making? Or what does the future hold for artificial intelligence in decision making? Questions like these will be answered and clarified in today's session. So if you're here, you're at the right place, because this is something that everybody needs to understand and everybody needs to hone, basically, how artificial intelligence can be implemented in various sectors of our lives or our work to help influence our decisions and make lives better for humanity. And so before we go into the session proper, like every social gathering, there are etiquettes, right? And we all are expected to ensure that our microphones are muted at all times. We are also advised to use the chat box to communicate with our facilitators during the session. And we also advise that when you've been given the permission to speak, ensure that your environment is quiet so that we can hear you clearly and so that it doesn't cause any disruption in the chain of thought of our facilitators. And if you are to enable your cameras, we advise that you're not in a distracting environment. We also advise that you use a blurred background or a picture, just like I am using now, to cover your background so we can focus on you and what you have to say. So my name is Sylvester Agose once again, and I will be your host or your moderator, whatever term you would like to use for today's class. And it's a pleasure to have each and every one of you here today. So I believe we have a full enough class and we can get started. All right, if you're just joining us, welcome. So we'll be going straight into the program for today's session. So today's class is on AI and decision making, and it's the first class in the AI Ethics Summer School, August 2024, organized by the Pan-African Center for AI Ethics. So who are we? Now, the Pan-African Center for AI Ethics is a non-profit organization in Nigeria. The center is dedicated to fostering ethical AI development and practices in Africa. This is done through educational programs, research initiatives, and policy advocacy to ensure AI technologies benefit all segments of the African society. With a commitment to inclusivity, the center aims to bridge the gap between technological advancements and ethical standards, positioning Africa as a key player in the global discourse of AI ethics. They've organized 7 conference presentations, and they've hosted 6 webinars and had over 700 webinar participants. Now, what is the vision of the Pan-African Center for AI Ethics? Now, the vision is shaping the future of Africa's AI landscape to reflect the ethical and responsible dimensions of the African society. And this initiative has a mission to ensure that AI design, deployment, and use align with Africa's ethical standards and values. They are committed to promoting human-centric AI within the African context. Now, what does the Pan-African Center for AI Ethics do? Now, we are committed to ensuring the ethical development and advancement of responsible AI. Our organization focuses on key concepts related to fairness, accountability, transparency, and overall human welfare. This includes normative values, concerns, and potential risks involved with AI integration and optimization in Africa. We provide coverage on issues associated with African experience, culture, interactions, and perceptions on AI tools and their deployments. And they are the organizers of today's class, the AI and decision making, partnering also with the Thomas Adeomi University. So it's a pleasure to have each and every one of you here today. And that is just a brief introduction of the center organizing this summer school. And so I'll be inviting the head of research to talk about the team and the research requirements. So over to you, Lewis, if you're ready.
Maswali kama analia ama nasikia nini? I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Good day, everyone. My name is Lois Moses, and I'm the head of the research team for the Pan-African Center for AI Ethics. I want to welcome everyone to this program because I'm sure that everyone here is enthusiastic about artificial intelligence, understanding how it works, its deployment. And I'll briefly be telling you what we in the research department are all about. So please just bear with me while I share my screen. Excuse me. don't know if anybody's able to see my slide.
We can see your screen, Louis.
Just give me a minute. I'm trying to make sure that I'm able to read it. Okay. Can you see the document titled Research Paper Guidelines?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, before I start off, I think I will leave basics first. The research department of the Pan-African Center for AI Ethics is mainly dedicated towards writing research papers, conference papers, and sort. And what we do is we make sure that for the center, we're able to curate some artificial intelligence papers and documents that sometimes we submit these papers for conferences. We submit some of these papers for research work, and this research is part of what will be required of you for the duration of this program. So just give me a minute. I'm just going to go to the master. So let me start off by saying that for the duration of this program, you're required to write two research papers. Further information that will be provided to you in the chat, but you are required to write two research papers. The first paper is a group paper.
Sorry, Louis.
And
Sorry, Louis.
Yes.
Louis, I think the participants are complaining that there's a really bad echo from your end. I don't know if it's the room you're in or it's your microphone or something. I don't know if there's something you can do about it, but there is this feedback that overshadows your voice and we're struggling to hear you.
Is it better now?
Yes, it's better now.
It's better. Let me be sure it's so it's better. Let me just go into it. So as I was saying, there are two research papers that are going to be required from me for the duration of this program. The first is a group research paper, and then an individual research paper. For the group research paper, what this means is that you'll be divided into several groups based upon random selections of your admission number. And based on your parents, we are looking to have about, say, 4 to 6 persons per group. Based on your parents, you'll be given some topics to work on. And these topics that you'll be given per group will come with some abstracts. So you won't just be diving blindly into your research work. We'll give you the topics and the abstracts so that we can guide you in your groups while you do the research work. The document I was trying to open is our research paper guidelines, which will still be provided to you on the group chat so that you could further go through it and it could assist you for the duration of the research. This research paper guidelines will be used for both your group research and your individual research work. For your individual research work, Pan-African Center for AI Ethics is not going to just allow you to write whatsoever research work you think you want to write on artificial intelligence, because there are certain things that we're looking out for that are in alignment with our values, like we spoke about. I'm sorry, can anybody hear me? Because unless you share.
We can hear you, Louis. We can hear you.
Okay. Okay, so as I was saying, there are certain requirements that the research paper guidance contain that you would use to guide you in writing your research work, so that whatever you're writing is in alignment with what we want. Like, was discussed earlier, we said that we don't just write research papers on artificial intelligence. There are certain aspects we're looking towards. We're looking at things first and foremost from an African context. We're looking at things that promote African values, African traditions in artificial intelligence. So your research paper is going to be tailored towards that direction. Let me start by saying that for your research paper, individual research paper, you will have 3 thematic tracks to pick from. Now, these thematic tracks are supposed to act as overarching guidelines for you. You would pick one of these tracks, you would write a topic that will be directly related to something there, and then we will go through it and assess it for before you're able to finish your part of the program and get your certificate. If you look, when we share our group research topics with you, you'll be able to discover that the topics have been curated in line with these thematic tracks. Like we said before, we are not just writing for the sake of research. We're writing based on certain areas that we're looking towards. These areas are areas that are relevant to the African context. There are also areas that are trending areas that are contentious in the aspects of artificial intelligence. So I'm not going to, read the whole document for you, but I'm going to be highlighting the key parts that you must watch out for when you're doing your research work. So, like I said, we have 3 thematic tracks that we're looking towards. The first one is on audits, evaluations, safety, and accountability in our AI systems. So this particular track is going to be looking at auditing, evaluating systems, looking at some certain AI principles like fairness, accountability, and transparency. So for those persons that are interested in writing something towards this area for their individual research work, what this means is that you would have to make sure that whatever you're writing is tailored to address audits, evaluations, safety, and accountability in AI systems. So the main purpose of this particular tract is we want to be able to identify and mitigate the adverse impacts of AI on individuals, groups, and society. If you look at some of our previous videos that we've done in the organization, we've touched on aspects of accountability, fairness in artificial intelligence, bias. So you could go back to those videos, if you need clarity on what's really mean when we talk about the individual research, so it could give you something more direction. If you see here, you will realize that we said here, papers in this track explore matrices and evaluation practices to identify and mitigate the adverse impacts of AI. The second track is going to be looking at critical and philosophical aspects of AI ethics. What this track is looking at is there's going to be a lot of focus on laying foundations for artificial intelligence and the societal impact of adopting and deploying these devices. If you are interested in looking at AI from a historical, humanistic, or a social or cultural perspective for your individual paper, then you may be looking at tilting towards this thematic track. The last one is going to be looking at law, policy, and governance on AI deployment. And this track will be focusing on establishing frameworks for AI deployment, proposals, policy proposals for AI deployment, governance and use of AI deployment, whether it is in the public sector, it is maybe in the private sector, corporate governance, or whatever societal structure we decide on. So I would say that, I said before that there are several things in the research paper guidelines that's supposed to guide you. So we've dropped some reference styles for you. You could go through this. It will be required of you that you follow these reference styles for your submissions. We also have a research format. I'm sorry, we're pressed for time, so I really don't want to go into all of this. Then we have our reference format, please. For the Pan-African Center for AI Ethics, for the duration of the summer school program, we're going to be using the APA reference format. Please do well to take note of all of this because the research team is also in charge of reviewing your research paper, ensuring that it is in line with the guidelines, scoring and grading, all of that, so that you don't run into any problems. So I think I want to touch on this a bit because this is very important. Criteria for evaluation. So when you're bringing up, we understand that the influx of artificial intelligence into everyday use has brought about LLMs like ChatGPT and the likes. But I'm going to sound a note of warning here that for our referencing, we are very strict on how you reference things. And our criteria for evaluation will show all of that. You make sure that even when you're using ChatGPT or whatsoever large language model you want to deploy in your research, there's proper referencing involved. You're able to tell us where you get these the sources of these research papers that you are offering as your references. So for the criteria for evaluation, we're going to be looking at authority. Like I said, we're looking at authors that are recognized experts in the artificial intelligence field. You're not just going to be citing ChatGPT. You have to tell us who is the person that authored this paper. What if it was a conference you got it from, maybe not just a particular author alone, but maybe they presented at a conference. You tell us what conference it was they presented it in. Then we're going to be looking at the credentials of the author so that you don't just pull up, because ChatGPT has tendency to hallucinate. So we're going to be looking at all of these things when we are grading and evaluating your research paper. So please do keep that in mind. We're also going to be looking at accuracy, that is evidence-based, to make sure that your data, for example, if you tender data for accountability, auditing, and all of that, if we're looking at that track, for example, we'll make sure that we check to make them to ensure that there is enough evidence. Your data is not just accurate, but it's also relevant. And your data is not just relevant, it's also current. We're also going to be looking at objectivity. Objectivity means that we're going to be doing a form of review that is, I don't want to use the word blind peer review, but we're going to be looking at things from an objective perspective. If there's any form of bias or conflict of interest, please make sure that you indicate that at the end of the research paper. Then I think the other ones pretty much speak for themselves: currency, relevance.
Yes.
So this research paper guidelines will be shared with you. Please make sure that you pick your references from different sources, not just ChatGPT. You could go to primary sources like case studies, especially because artificial intelligence has a lot of that. Secondary sources, open access sites. Yes, and I think lastly I'll touch on plagiarism because this is very important. If there has been, especially for those that are making use of large language models, if there has been any form of plagiarism in your work and we are able to detect that, that will not just reduce your score, but it couldn't just affect your score, but it could also affect the fact that you will not be able to tender your paper, because when we are done with the research papers, we have plans of publishing some research papers. But if these research papers do not meet the standards that have been set out in the guidelines here, we will not be able to do any of that. So I think I'm through. We'll be sending this to the group chat, so please do not worry about trying to remember everything that has been said. It will be sent to you in the group chat, and your groupings will also be sent to you on the group chat. So please take note of that and check on your group chats during the weekends, because we'll be doing that by this weekend.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Louis, for giving us a rundown of the research. By the way, Louis is the head of research. So it's a pleasure to have you here, Louis, and thank you very much for breaking everything down to each and every one of us. So if you're just joining, welcome. This is the AI and decision-making class for the AI Ethics Summer School, August 2024. And it's a pleasure to have every one of you here. So we'll be going now right into the fun stuff, as I'd like to call it, the main reason why we're all gathered here today, the session proper. But before we go into this session, I'd just like to reiterate that we all are in a social space and we should observe the etiquettes guiding the social space. So ensure your microphones are muted throughout the session. If you want to communicate anything to the facilitators or to the moderator, which is myself, you can do so using the chat box. Ensure that your background is noiseless when you're given the opportunity to ask your question or to speak, so that we all can hear you loud and clear. So now I'll be sharing my screen while I introduce our facilitator for today's session. So our facilitator for today is an AI ethicist with the Pan-Africa Center for AI Ethics, a not-for-profit organization, where he joins the team in developing ethical framework that ensures human-centered AI development and deployment. In 2023, he led the ethics cluster of the Volunteer Expert Group, VEG, in the development of Nigeria's national artificial intelligence policy. As an AI ethicist, he has contributed to several projects, dialogues, and advocacy on ensuring that artificial intelligence is human-centered in its design, training, deployment, and use in Africa. He has also spoken in several conferences across Africa, Europe, and Australia. This includes, but not limited to, the 23rd World Congress on Safety and Health at Workplace, Sydney, Australia, Sustainability AI Lab, Bonn, Germany, where he presented on AI for sustainable development in Africa, Future Africa Conference, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to mention a few. He has served in several advisory boards, committees, and stakeholder dialogue, and is the facilitator for today's session titled AI and Decision Making. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome Mr. Kingsley Odara as he anchors today's session. Over to you, Mr. Kingsley.
Hi, everyone. I trust you're all well today. Good morning, good afternoon. From anywhere you're joining from, please confirm if you're able to hear me with just a show of hand or any method that's good. Yeah. Asma, see you from Morocco. Ibrahim, I can see your hand. Any other person? More hands. Just confirm if you're able to hear me. Okay, Onida Mola, I can see your hand. All right, so we just go straight to the session today. Just to give room for a few comments. So how has the summer school been for you so far? So we just want to hear a few comments from people. So what's your experience so far at the summer school? This is like the second session we are having. So tell me, anybody willing to share their experience? Anybody? Anybody? How has the session been? You might want to drop it on charts, or you want to just say something. First session was very interesting. Okay, first session was very interesting and clear, a very good start. It's exciting, okay. Any other comments? I mean, just tell us the way it is. So, I mean, there's always room for improvements. And also to add, the last tax, how many of us were able to go through the tax? Do you have any challenge doing the tax? Anybody? Anybody able to go through the last tax? Okay, Praveen, okay. Okay, only one person. Okay, so only one person is able to do that. Any other person are able to go through, the last tax? Just one. So the timeline for your submission is tomorrow. So you're able to. Is there any platform or drive where we can find the tax and recordings? Tabby, right, would address that after the session, so she's able to give more feedbacks, especially on assessing the tax. Okay, yes, please share the tax on WhatsApp group. Okay, so she'll do it after now. So I'll just go straight into the class. This is very interesting. And please pay attention because there's a little class afterwards, so we are able to get them done. Okay, so I'll just share my screen straight up so that we are able to follow through. Let's share. Where are you? Okay, please confirm if you're able to see my screen.
We can.
Awesome. Awesome. Any other person able to see my screen? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Right, so I'll just go straight to the point then. Yeah, so I'm really excited about this class, and hopefully we are able to get something together. What's wrong with my slide? Okay, so at the end of this course, we are looking at getting a few things done, right? The first is introduction to AI and decision making. The second is types of AI. The third is AI for specific decision-making scenarios, the level of risk, AI and hallucination, AI and persuasion, class tax, and then we'll conclude afterwards. So this class is a mixture of three things. If you observe in the last class, we mentioned that there are several layers to AI, right? We have the technical layer, the social layer, the philosophical layer, the legal layer, and the economic layer, right? So we are having most of the things we have done in the last class, we are implementing most of them now and seeing how we can actually implement what you have learned into things that are now actionable, how you could bring what I've learned to life. And I'm hoping that you all will be able to get something really, really tangible from this class. Okay. So let me ask us on this call. When we say AI for decision making, what exactly goes into your mind? I'm trying to see how we can actually make this class, an interactive class. So when we say AI for decision making, what exactly comes through your mind? What comes to your mind? Anybody? Maybe to make it easier, I'll call names. So I see Begira Donald. What comes to your mind when we say AI for decision making, AI and decision making? What comes to your mind?
Thank you so much. What comes to my mind when we talk about AI and decision making is the ability of artificial intelligence to augment human capabilities. So how AI can advance the work that we are already doing or assist us in making decisions, but effectively. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Bagheera. Any other person? AI for decision making, what comes to your mind? Let's see a name. Prudence.
Hello, good afternoon. I actually do not have any idea. I think I would want to leave it to you to bring more info. So nothing comes to mind yet. Thank you.
Okay. Prudence, nothing comes to mind. Okay, the final person I would want to call Asma. Asma?
Okay, so for me, I think AI, in a way that it may help to predict the impact of a decision, and maybe also take the maximum advantage of a decision. I think this is all that came to my mind for now. Mr. Thomas, your micro is muted.
Oops. Thank you so much, Asma. Thank you for notifying me that. So the whole idea about this session is to basically, walk us through both the philosophy and also the technicality of AI decisions, AI for decision making. I'm trying, I tried as much as possible not to be so technical, going through random forest, going through decision trees and all those probabilistic, stuff. So I try not to go so deep so we don't turn everybody, because I understand that we have multiple backgrounds here. Somebody say how AI system get integrated into how AI system get integrated in everyday decision-making activity, e.g. assist doctors to make diagnosis. Awesome. So before we start this class, now imagine yourself, want to have like 3 iterations of you. 3 iterations, right? The first situation will be, imagine yourself as the head of a company, let's say a CEO that already have a company in existence and wants to leverage AI for decision making. Iteration 1. Iteration 2 is, imagine yourself as the AI engineer, an ML engineer to develop, an AI system. And then iteration 3, imagine yourself as a user of an AI system. And when I mean AI system, it could range from an LLM to probably a robot to, from a very narrow perspective to a super intelligent perspective, right? So imagine yourself as, a user, and that would really put things into perspective to be able to understand this. To be able to understand further this topic is, we also try to understand type of AI system by functionality. And that will give you some level of understanding on its usage. So I will start with the first one, the first type of AI system, which is known as narrow or weak AI. Is designed to perform specific tasks, such as voice assistance and image recognition system without processing general cognitive ability. Now, in respect to this kind of AI system, it has some characteristics of task specific work, right? It is basically, this kind of AI systems are usually designed for just one specific task, and they are usually limited in scope and cannot perform tasks outside what they are trained for. They have no self-awareness or consciousness, and usually they depend on large amount of data and predefined rules. When we think about AI system as this, we will think about your Siri on your I think Siri is on iPhone, right? Siri on your iPhone. You think about your Alexa. You think about your Google Assistant, or you could even think about your a recommender system, such as movie recommendations used, on Netflix or Amazon, or something as little as filtering of spam messages in your emails. So we're talking about AI and decision making, right? So these kind of systems are usually at the basic level. At the basic level. Other type you will look at is the general AI. Now, general AI or strong AI, they refer to theoretical system that could understand, learn, and apply knowledge across a wide range of tasks at human-like level. Now, this one is a step ahead of the narrow AI. And this is because of its broad capacity, in performing tasks, its adaptive learning, technique, its complex understanding, and usually potential self-awareness and consciousness of human. Although this kind of AI, it's basically presumed that it is not in existence. Looking at the we're talking, so you could mute. Okay. So usually this kind of AI, it is presumed that it's the world is still evolving, although we could categorize some LLMs to this category, but it's still growing. It's still growing. They're like, these kind of systems are still coming up, especially when it comes to acting like human, taking tasks like human. But some LLMs just gradually are falling into this category, but it's a gradual thing. The world is still evolving. And the last one is super intelligent AI. Now, these basically are AI which remains purely hypothetical. Like, they're hypothetical, and the idea about super intelligent AI is that it surpasses human intelligence in all aspects, including creativity and problem solving, presenting both profound opportunity and significant ethical and societal risk. Super intelligent machines for now, are still hypothetical, and I think they are still living in science fiction. There are still these AI systems that are, still in the minds of creators, and I'm sure most of us have watched Optimus Prime, where a car turns to a robot, stands, walk, dance, and all the science fiction, right? We could, we could categorize system as such in that particular category. Why it is essential to really talk about this type of AI system is we begin to create foundation for our minds to understand, to understand the functionings of AI, especially when it comes to decision making. Now, irrespective of the AI that you are interfacing with as an ethicist, you need to understand, first of all, the level of implementation of such AI system, especially in an organization. Now, I speak in this session to people that are implementing AI basically for at organization level, and not really for research purpose. Well, maybe research purpose, but largely, yeah, I can say Transcendence Avengers. Okay, so I can basically on in organization level and how such systems are being implemented for usage. First of all, you might want to implement AI system in an organization at an initial stage, which I would rather refer as the basic automation. Now, at this stage or at this level, AI is primarily used for automating routine tasks to improve efficiency and reduce human error. This might refer to probably basic sensor, simple data analytics, and automation tool. Now, we have seen levels or types of AI. We are seeing the layers of implementation of this AI system. Other level would be data-driven insights, which includes AI system being used to analyze more deeply to provide actionable insights. Now, the first stage is probably the first stage will be the basic automation. The next stage goes now deep into the data-driven insight to understand how data is flowing in an organization, and also how you are able to, how you're able to interpret the data and make actionable decisions. The next would be in the instance of real-time monitoring and alerts. And usually this refers to when you are implementing a system for, let's say, some form of highly volatile, environment. For instance, you are working as an ethicist for a company producing chemicals, or a safety company. Then you understand that instance like this, you need AI system for monitoring. And basically, they're used for continuous monitoring of continuous workplace monitoring, and also employees' behavior in real time. The next one you look at is the predictive and prescriptive analytics. In this instance, they are basically used to recommend actions to prevent harm, both to predict and also to prescribe, further steps when it comes to risk in the organization. But often than not, people basically, especially when it comes to companies that are not developing or building AI tools themselves, they purchase tools, and their level of implementation is usually at the stage of filtering, right? That is at the basic automation. Want to send emails, want to do routine tasks, want to do just at the basic stage, like very, 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 very basic segments. It is later on that you now see it being implemented at a higher level, But let's move a bit deep into this topic. I referred to you earlier on that this particular segment, this particular course is divided several iterations. It's divided into several iterations. First of all, when you are working as an ethicist, as the CEO, you are working as the user, and at the same time, you are the engineer. And you also need to know that instance like this, you also need to consider, if in the case where you are to advise, a company that is building AI system, all these things we are talking about, you find a way to, cut them across several AI life cycle, from the pre-modeling, modeling, and the post-modeling, which is deployment stage. You find how how those tools, those steps, techniques are being broken down across these levels. But let's look at what to consider when you are leveraging AI system, AI for decision making at organization level. Now, this iteration I refers to you as CEO, right? Advising, the CEO. First, look at the necessity. A company wants to adopt AI system for decision making in the organization. The first thing you look at is how necessary is the adoption. Is it really necessary, or we are doing this because everybody's doing it? I've gotten several people ask me about how they could leverage on AI, how they could, start using AI in the organization, what they could do. even when it is glaring that it is not so relevant at that point in time. But because the trend is AI, LLMs, chatbots, prompts, and everybody wants to get it done. So you see people forcing their organization workflow to fit into an AI system. So the first question you will ask would be the question of necessity. Is it necessary, right? Ensure that the AI initiative aligns with the overall strategic goal and objective of the organization. AI should support and enhance business strategy and not distract them. So when you're able to get, an affirmative or a clear understanding on the necessity of the implementation of AI, the next thing you look at is the level of implementation. Recall that in the previous slides, we talked about several levels of implementation, either at the basic level, at the intermediate level, or at the advanced level. And to get this done, you basically, to understand the level of implementation of AI, you have to engage what we call a stakeholder dialogue, right? So you understanding the several perspectives of the people in the organization that want to, use this AI system, to get what exactly is your thought on this. And this look a bit similar to the process that is being used for to understand data process impact assessment, data processing impact assessment, DPIA. We'll be taking a class on that tomorrow. So you tend to understand how, you tend to ask yourself and understand what level are we implementing this AI system? So what level, right? Now, you also ensure that you are not integrating an AI system for decision-making in vacuum. So you are building a system that stands alone and is trying to sideline or to push aside other systems that have been in existence. So it's good that you ensure the organization implementing this AI system to understand the level at which, to be able to synchronize, to sync the AI system with an existing system, right? That way you ensure that AI solutions seamlessly integrate with existing either safety management system or existing system where you want to implement the system. Other things you need to know is you have to ensure that you have what we call the employees training and acceptance. Now, and this is the basics of trustworthy AI, ensuring that the adaptation of an AI system is being trusted. It's a trusted process. This is because when employees do not trust a technology, it becomes redundant. And the idea is that you want to speed in the work of, you want to speed in the returns, you want to speed in, speed up the decision making to make it effective in the organization. So you have to ensure that the employees in the organization gain the acceptance and are being trained on how to use this AI system. Also, you need to assess whether you have the necessary in-house expertise to manage the AI solution. Recall that we are talking about implementing AI for decision making in an organization, and you're working as a role of an ethicist to do an implementation. So you're ensuring that there is an in-house technical expertise to be able to understand how the flow of work goes and to be able to answer things when anything goes wrong. While you have a technical expertise that helps you, monitor the system, you must also ensure that there is what we call continuous monitoring and improvement. And continuous monitoring and improvement could be either fixing of bugs, either seeking for support, especially when the AI system is being imported and not being built by the organization, helping employees to monitor how they use the AI system, especially in the use of data, ensuring that PIIs, personally identifiable informations, are not used on the AI system, ensuring that personal data are not being fed to the AI system. So monitoring and continuous evaluation or monitoring and improving of an AI system goes beyond fixing of bugs that might, arise in the AI system. It goes beyond, it goes to the extent of teaching and monitoring the kind of data that are being fed to this tool by the employees in the organization. So that would really help from the adoption, from the conception of the use of AI system down to when it's being implemented, it's being used, and it's profitable for the organization without losing personal data, in the process of using the AI system. Oops. Okay. I would give my slide again. I didn't do this very well. So we have talked about type of AI system. We have talked about levels of implementation. We have talked about factors to consider before implementing AI system. And now, why is it really important? Why we need to talk about all these things? This is because AI is prone to risk. AI has the likelihood of, bridging risk, and this risk can go at a simpler level or at a basic level to a higher level, depending on the level of implementation, the type of AI system, and the organization is being implemented, right? So let's consider types of AI risk, right, and level of risk as provided by the EU AI Act, because that's like the better guide to understand AI risk. So EU AI Act, I'll just display everything once and for all. Yeah. So EU AI Act gives us 4 levels of AI risk, starting with the minimal risk, to the limited risk, to high risk, and then to unacceptable risk. And why is it good to understand this? As an ethicist, you're able to advise your company, looking at the characteristics of this risk you are talking about, whether it is really good to bring in this AI system or not, whether it is really necessary to, to start using the AI system or not. So let's start with the minimal risk. Minimal risk AI system have, negligible. They have negligible. Minimal risk AI system have negligible or no risk that, and thus face the least regulatory burden. They are encouraged to adhere to general principles of fairness, non-discrimination, human oversight. Examples would include spam filters and basic data analytics tools. I'm sure when I read this, something came to your mind, right? Which is basically the first type of AI system that we looked at earlier, which is the narrow or the weak AI. So, as an ethicist, if your organization wants to adopt a weak AI, which means that understanding the level of risk that kind of AI goes through, it ticks the first box, right? Like you tick the first box. Okay, this is a minimal risk, right? It's a minimal risk AI, and you can consider, flowing with it. The next thing is the limited risk, which is AI system in this category have lower potential for harm, but still require transparency measure. Providers must inform user about their interaction with AI system, especially with deepfakes, generative AI, which would include chatbots and certain decision-making system. This category of AI risk is a step ahead of the minimal risk, which is a bit of limited risk. It poses risk, but a bit limited, right? The third type of risk in this category would be the high risk AI system. And these are those AI systems that significantly impact people's health, safety, and fundamental rights. What comes to your mind in this instance is AI systems that are used for healthcare, right? Healthcare, criminal justice system, that are basically used for just a bit higher, that impacts people's health. Just think about people's health and think about AI systems that are built for people to impact people's health, right? In that particular instance, considering the kind of risk that particular AI pose, you would be able to consider if it's to give a thumbs up or some form of doubt that, okay, this might go, but other questions might follow, right? Other questions might follow. So the next kind of risk we would look at is the unacceptable risk, right? And this AI system is in this category are deemed to pose significant threats to individuals' rights and safety, and therefore prohibited. This may include subminimal manipulations of individuals without their awareness, exploitation of vulnerability based on age, physical or mental disability. Now, understanding the peculiarity and the characteristic of the AI system that wants to be implemented by your system, by your company or by your organization, will determine if you want to give it a go ahead or not. In the case where your organization is building a tool that want to, probably a surveillance system, surveillance system in its real sense do not pose any risk. But the method of implementation of a surveillance system will determine whether it's risky or not risky, especially without the awareness of the people it's being used for. In that instance, you would want to take it on a hold. Take it on a hold, take a pause, and consider whether you would want to implement such system or not. Okay. Before I go into the theory of persuasion, I would want to give about a 5-minute break so we could ponder on what you have talked about, and it will not be a load of information and information and information. Maybe I should give a 10-minute break. But while we do a 10-minute break, I want you to read through this particular question and ponder on it too, because it's something that you will be doing. Let me see if I can. Let me just show you the question while you take some few seconds break. Can you still see my screen? Can anybody still see my screen?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so just think through this question while we just go on a short break and return in 10 minutes. So read through the question, consider it in line with all we have spoken about in the last 30 minutes or thereabouts, and then by 10 minutes, 9 minutes already, we would continue so that the information would not be just too much. So read through the question, ponder on it, and then we'll continue shortly. While the break is going on, if you have any question, you could just drop on the chat box while you're having some free break. Okay, so we have 3 minutes more. All right, welcome back, everybody. And we'll just go through the next couple of minutes talking about what we have left to do. Please confirm if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Okay, Asma, great. All right, so let's just go straight. So I mentioned earlier about training people and gaining trust for the usage and adoption of technology, especially artificial intelligence. We'll go now into Reth will answer the question on the study materials. So we will go now into the question of persuasion, because to be able to make decision, artificial intelligence must be able to persuade people. And also, as an ethicist, you need to understand, the question of persuasion, right? You need to understand persuasion, especially when it comes to the workings of AI persuasion, right? And the theories that governs, AI and persuasion. So let's start with the first one, cognitive dissonance theory. Now, this thing is not complex, so just take it easy and follow it up gradually, so you'll be able to understand, what it is and how it works. The first thing is the cognitive dissonance theory. Now, the whole idea about this theory is that it suggests that people experience discomfort, which is dissonance, when they hold conflicting belief, or when their belief and behavior are inconsistent. AI system can be designed to reduce this dissonance by presenting information or argument that aligns with the user's existing belief, thus persuading them to change their behavior and change their behavior to match their belief. Recall that I mentioned earlier about training trust, and that's the whole idea about the adoption of this particular AI and the theory of this persuasion. ensuring that the first principle, which is talking about getting AI system that aligns with the belief of the user. AI system that aligns with the belief of the user. So basically, if you are working with the engineering team, this theory will be a good one for you. For instance, you are building a system that helps sailors sail. What would you use? Basically, you're going to use the ideology of sailing to build the tool. So when a sailor uses a tool that has the keyword, has the foundation of sailing, it is easier for such tool to be persuasive to such a person than using a tool that has no feature, no adaptiveness of sailing in it. Are you following? Is anybody following? Let me just have a show of hand if you are following the session. Oh, awesome. Thank you. Oh, great. Okay. So let's continue. The next one is elaboration likelihood model, ELMs. Now, the idea about ELMs is that it proposes two, okay, there's a bit of error in my slide here. It proposes two routes to persuasion. First, the central route and the peripheral routes. The central route involves deep, thoughtful consideration of the argument used when the user is highly motivated and capable of processing the information, while the peripheral route relies on superficial clues. In this case, when the user is less motivated or capable. E.g., in IT management service, systems for each service request. Okay, let me give more instance. Is let's say a system for threat monitoring, right? A system for threat monitoring in cybersecurity. This particular theory works well for persuasion, especially to be able to get when there is a threat, in a system. You could check, more on this particular theory to understand, the wide and the broad range of its usage. The other one is social proof theory. People tend to follow the actions and behavior of others, especially in uncertain situations. AI system can leverage on social proof by showing users that others have adopted a particular behavior or make similar decisions. So, depending on the company, depending on the kind of AI system they want to build, because we are saying the idea is because the idea about AI ethics, AI ethics is not just drafting of ethical principle, but ensuring that technology is being adopted by user and used the right way. And the engineers are building it the right way in such a way that it can be used, right? So you could advise the engineering team to use more social proofs, to be able to convince the people to use the tool. So you could use the social proof theory. You could also use what we call the reciprocity theory. Now, people feel obliged to return favor or good deeds. AI system can use this principle by offering something valuable to the user, e.g., free trial or helpful information, to create a sense of obligation to reciprocate. Now, let us take a pause here, right? And check this fourth theory. Now, consider any AI company that comes to your mind and think about which of this theory do you think comes in play in your mind, especially when you are building, when you are using an AI tool? Have you at once used a tool that gives you free trial and looking at that, okay, this tool is not bad. Okay, let me make decision to purchase this tool to help me do what I want to do. So these are several theories that organizations, philosophies behind the adoption of AI technologies for decision-making organization, especially when you are working with the development, you are working with the development team, right? And they are trying to, look for things to use to ensure that people adopt the technology they're building. So you could use any of this for, let's move forward. People also use the scarcity principle, which is people are likely to want something that is in limited supply. AI system can create a sense of urgency to exclusivity to persuade user. The next thing is authority principle. People tend to follow the advice or recommendation of perceived authorities. AI system can incorporate endorsements from experts or display certification to increase the persuasion power. Think about an AI tool. When you go to their company, when you go to their website and you see logo of IBM, Microsoft, Toyota Motors, this one, that one, Aero Contractors, Amazon, and they show you all the clients they've used. What do you think they're trying to do? They are not just showing it off. They are trying to increase the persuasion power for you to be able to adopt that technology, right? So think about it. A technology that is being built in your company, and you're looking at how can we make it more adopted, right? So most persons go through the route of, using the authority routes, the authority principle. Now, other thing is personalized and customization. Now, customized message and recommendation are more persuasive because they align closely with the user's interest, preference, and behavior. AI system can use data about user to tailor their persuasive messages. Now, this is more effective when it comes to sentiment analysis. For many persons that are into sentiment analysis here, you understand that, and sentiment analysis, or you're building like a recommender system. The idea is that you are able to persuade people through customized and personalized, service. Just imagine an AI system acting like you. Hi, I'm Kingsley. What do you want? And people are likely to want to deal with that too because it talks like me and acts like me, right? So that is another thing you might want to consider. Yeah, the next is effective computing. AI system can recognize and respond to human emotions. AI system can recognize and respond to human emotion and can be more persuasive by aligning their responses with users' emotional states. Recently, there have been researches around excuse me. Oh, awesome. AI recommendation tool acts like they are saying, I know what's better for you exactly. This is the best thing you should use now. There have been conversations now in the global space around emotion detection, AI for emotion detection. So you might want to check about it, especially when AI recommends when you are sad and it begins to recommend some things for you because of your state. Somebody say my slide is not moving. Can anybody confirm that? Is my slide moving at your end? Currently, I am at number 8, effective computing. Can anybody see that?
Yes, it's currently at number 8.
Okay. So if your slides are not moving, likely you are having challenge with your network, your internet. Awesome. Okay. Great. So I have my eye on the comments so I could get a feedback as the class is going on. So these are the theories that people have adopted when it comes to AI for decision making. And this is good when you are trying to implement it in organization level to be able to understand the reasons behind the rationale behind making decisions for AI system. Okay. So let's go to the final aspect of this work, which is hallucination. Before, where's my slide not responding? Excuse me, my slide seems to be on its own. Okay. So when we refer to hallucination, what's your thought about hallucination? What's hallucination? You must have heard about AI hallucinating. So what's your thought about hallucination? Anybody? Probably I could call name, but I want people to talk. What's your thought about hallucination? What is your thoughts on hallucination? Richard? When the system...
Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead, please go
I
ahead.
think when I think of hallucinations, I just think of AI, producing results that are not accurate. So, you ask it some, question, or you expecting some output, but then the output that it gives you, like, it's inaccurate or incorrect. That's how I view hallucination. Yeah.
Thank you, Richard. One other person, Praveen. Praveen? Somebody say AI strain of topic when AI see pattern that does not exist. Okay, let's just continue. So according to IBM says that AI hallucination is a phenomena whereby or wherein a large language model, often a generative AI chatbot or computer vision tool, perceives pattern or objects that are non-existent or imperceptible to human observers, creating outputs that are nonsensical and altogether inaccurate. In other words, giving things that are non-existent as though they existed. And somebody said, Asma said that this is also due to the quality of training data. I totally agree with you on this, right? So let's move on. As an ethicist, how do you check hallucination in AI system? So let me ask everybody, how can you check hallucination? How? SC or EC? I don't know whether I'm pronouncing it right. EC Wilson, how can you check hallucination?
I think maybe the very first step is to check the continuous response of the AI system. That could tell that it's hallucinating.
Okay, thank you. This space. Is this space on the call? Okay, Oyindamola. Oyindamola, you're on the call. All right, so including human in the process. Okay, so let's just go one after the other. So as an ethicist, one of the things you consider to be able to effectively check hallucination of AI system, especially when, because the whole idea is that you want to be sure that the adoption of technology in your company is safe and is fit for human use. At the same time, it does not make mistakes or error that can cost you a lot of money or cost anything, right? The first thing you consider is what we call cross validation with multiple sources. Verify the AI's output against multiple reliable and independent sources. It could include compare the AI generated content with data from trusted database, scientific literature, or expert opinion. Now, what's the whole idea is that the whole idea is you are not just getting the result from an AI system, picking it and adopting it or giving it a thumbs up. You are sure that you are able to compare the result of this system, and ensuring that it is something that is accurate with reliable source. Ensuring that it is accurate with reliable source. The next part is human review and feedback. Now, in this, you adopt an approach of involving human experts to review and validate AI outputs. You can set up a workflow where AI-generated outputs are reviewed by domain experts before final decisions are made. So after cross-validating it, you put, just as somebody has, added human in the process or human in the loop, you put human, in between the whole process to be able to validate, to cross-validate the tool and being sure that it is, the result it is giving is consonant with, what is acceptable in that terrain. The next thing you consider is what we call redundancy and consensus algorithms. In this approach, you use multiple AI models to generate output and compare their results. You deploy several models trained on different database or data sets and check for consistency in their output. Use consensus algorithms to determine the most reliable results. What this comes to you is that as much as although you are trying, if you've done the first one to to verify to cross validate the stuff, you also use what we call consensus algorithms to also do that. So this is an AI tool, this is an AI tool. Put the same result here, put the same result here. Put the same input, put the same input, check the results. So that will help you to choose, okay, what is the level of hallucination of this system and what is the level of hallucination of the other system, and then you know which one should you use among all the systems. So cross-validating it through what we call redundancy and consensus algorithms also help to be able to check for hallucination, especially when selecting AI model to be used in an organization. The next thing you look at is the explainability and the transparency. In this approach, you ensure that the quality and relevance of the data used to train and operate this model. How do you do this? You implement what we call a robust data cleaning, preprocessing, and validation technique. You have to regularly update the training data to include the latest and most accurate information. The whole idea is that you're able to understand you are able to make it transparent enough, right? You are making the tool, the model, both explainable and transparent, for users to use. I think something might be wrong with my slide. Are you still able to see my slide?
Yes.
Okay. So the next is continuous monitoring and testing, right? I'm sure you know what that means. Continuous monitoring the tool and ensuring that it is in consonance with what you should be doing. right? To continuously monitor the performance and test the accuracy and reliability. Now, the idea about continuous monitoring is not just for you to monitor it once. Continuous monitoring, like continuous, to be sure that, because hallucination can come in at any time, at any stage. So to prevent hallucination, you continuously monitor the workings of the algorithms to be sure that it is in work, it's in consonance with the decisions are right, and it's also safe for usage. So other things you'd also want to do is to use user feedback and iterative improvements. User feedback and iterative improvement, which means collect and incorporate users' feedback to improve AI accuracy. By this, you provide mechanism for user to report errors or inconsistencies in AI outputs. Use this feedback to refine and retrain the model, which is really good, right? Continuous development and also checking user feedback to be able to understand how it works and to be able to, retrain the model to understand how better to work. And with this, I'm done. This is something, what I call it, a class activity for everybody to do. While you are thinking about your class activity, if you have questions and answers, please throw in your questions and let's see how we can answer it together. Thank you. I dropped the mic for the moderator to step in.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for the session. Even though I'm not a student, a registered student of the school, I learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody else here learns a lot as well. And as I usually say in sessions I moderate, that with every great session comes great questions. So now the floor is open for questions to be asked. So I know there's a lot of things that we have on our minds to clarify, and our facilitator here today is ready, willing, and able to clarify everything we have for him to clarify. So it's time for questions. You can use the chat box, or you can raise your hand and then you'll be given the permission to ask your question. Time for questions, please. Or someone is asking, or Praveen is asking, can the slides be shared from the first and this session, please? I think, Praveen, you can ask on the WhatsApp platform, and I think the facilitators will be able to answer your question on the WhatsApp platform. And I also think the slides would be provided on the WhatsApp platform for further viewing. Do we have any other questions? Questions. Don't be shy. Okay, Mr. Kingsley, it seems like they need more clarity on the assignments because Praveen is asking. Okay.
Okay, so two major questions. The first one is, can we say that Google Translate is not checking for hallucination? Because sometimes the translation is grossly inadequate, especially for some languages. Yes, I agree with you. You know, some translations are, most times they are inadequate. And I think they provide, there is a room for feedback for them. And most people usually do not explore the feedback tool. So you could, you know, when most outputs are inaccurate, you could just provide some level of feedback to help them understand what it is. Although I'm not sure of the level and the rate of the implementation of the feedback, but it varies, right? It varies from company to companies. But the idea is that everybody on the call here that would be engaged one time or the other, as an ethicist, to help organization work out things like this, you should be able to help with feedbacks on how it can be done. So a bit of clarity on the task. I will read it again. You have been invited as an ethicist to Real Foods Inc. to advise the company on the development and implementation of AI modules to be used by the company for automated processing of food, documents, and client sentiment analysis. Your role will be crucial in ensuring that AI systems are designed and deployed in an ethical, transparent, and socially responsible manner. You will work closely with the technical and operational team to incorporate ethical consideration into the AI development lifecycle, from the initial designs through to deployment and continuous monitoring. Your expertise will help Real Food Inc. not only to leverage AI for operational efficiency and enhance clients' experiences, but also uphold companies' commitment to ethical practices and corporate social responsibility. Now, what your role in this is to advise the company on how to implement, based on what we have learned here on AI and decision making. Advise the company on, number one, what to consider before implementing AI for decision making. Number one, what to consider before implementing AI what to consider before implementing AI for decision making. Number two is various policies that are essential towards achieving this. So number one, how to implement. Number two, policies that are essential towards the adoption of AI for decision making in an organization. Number one, implementation framework. Number two, policies essential in the adoption of AI for decision making in organization. And then number three, the ethical principles to consider while implementing such policies, such algorithm in the organization. Those are the three things you should work on using that case study. Do anybody get it? Please confirm if you understand it. Do you understand? Am I muted? Okay, I'm not muted. Do you understand? Okay, Prudence gives a thumbs up. So I believe that we understand it. I see that Ono Chair's hand is up. Okay, I think it's down.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. So thank you very much for the amazing session.
Can you be a bit audible? Maybe it's me. I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah. So from the EU's AI Act, and from what you explained, it's a risk-based approach, from the minimal to limited, high risk, and then to the unacceptable. And it's just a thought, actually. Do you feel like we may come to a point where with generative AI, because I think these things have the ability to train themselves with generative AI, I mean, do you think we will see a point where we can have them go from being just narrow or general to becoming super intelligent without the input, without necessarily having human input? That's just my thought. It's not a fear per se, it's just the thought I would want you to possibly give your say something about.
Okay, thank you very much. I honestly believe that if generative AI is not cautioned, it might grow, in quotes, from a narrow AI to unacceptable AI, especially, and this will be dependent on, number one, the audience using it, number two, the sector is being used, and number three, the purpose is being used for. You know, there was this particular research, I shared it with the team. I'll try to look for the link. There was this particular research where a particular researcher, scientist, was making a research about the mixage of some molecular biological chemicals, you know, and at a point, while using a generative tool, at a point, while inputting such, you know, chemical formulas in the generative tool, tool, it got to a point where it gave a particular chemical formula that was equal to an atomic. It was equal to forgotten. I would Lois, can you help me with that? You know, it was equal to an atomic weaponry, and they had to stop research, right? They had to stop the research. So I believe that over time, if there is no human in the loop to question some things and to caution it, a simple generative tool can lead from a minimal risk to an unacceptable risk. It's just a matter of time, and based on the human input. You know that this thing employs what we call feedback loops, and it's able to train itself based on input. So yes, it is possible. It is possible. Usage will determine a lot of things, but generative AI still needs human influence, prompting. I agree with you, Prudence. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Do you have further questions? So I think Lois or Reth would help in the three questions that are associated with the task. I thank you all. I hand over the mic to the moderator. Thank you all for listening to the session.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Kingsley Wadara. It was a pleasure listening to you. And I'm sure everybody that has been on this call from the beginning till this very period has learned a lot. And I'm very confident that we'll go on to implement and carry out the knowledge we've gained from today's session. So I'll be handing over now to Reth to give you announcements before we call it a day. Reth, if you're on the call, you have the floor for the announcements. Or if Reth is not on the call, then I think any member of the team can take the announcements now.
Okay, I don't know where the glitch is coming from. I think Rex is having some bit of glitch. Few announcements. Class will still continue tomorrow by same time. Apologies for the team meeting that we could not hold yesterday. Everybody will be shared into team, just as Lois had explained some moments ago. everybody will be shared into team, and they will be required to deliver some work based on the thematic areas that have been shared or individual topics that have been assigned. So try to work on it. If you have further questions as to what is happening and what you have done, please reach out on the group and tag Reth. She's happy to answer all your questions. And that is really all for now. I'm not sure if there are other announcements, but that's all for now. Thank you all for joining, and I hand over the mic back to the moderator.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for the announcements. It's been a pleasure to be the moderator for today's event. Just a reminder that today's event is organized by the AI Ethics, by the Pan-Africa Center for AI Ethics. It's the AI Ethics Summer School in partnership with Thomas Adeomi University. It's been a pleasure to be your host. My name is Sylvester Agose, and I believe with all things done and said, to be best to draw the curtains for today's class here. It's been a pleasure to be a host, as I said earlier. So wherever you may be joining us from, this is me saying good afternoon, good evening, good night. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And yeah, stay cool, stay happy, and practice all what we've learned in today's call. So this is me signing out. Enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.